Hi everyone, welcome to Module 2, and this is all about how to set loving limits. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So, what is a loving limit? A loving limit is a way to say no to the behaviour, but yes to the feeling. So we're acknowledging the feeling, but we're not really accepting the behaviour, but we're accepting the feeling. And by doing this, we're allowing children's feelings to come out and to be expressed. And once they've been able to express their feelings in any way they wish, then they will be able to return to their loving, compassionate selves. So why do children need limits? They need limits to feel safe and secure. Children need to feel contained. And this helps them to make the right choices, okay? Because as adults, we grow up and we've got rules. We can't just go out doing whatever we like. You know, there's a police. If we make wrong choices as adults, what happens to us? So children need rules and boundaries to help them and guide them in the right direction. You know, not too many children need to still be making their own choices, but we need to be in control of those, if that makes sense. We need to guide them. You know, and teaching them the importance of rules. Rules are important. Children need to have limits, and they need to understand there are limits in life. There are rules and there are boundaries. And also it allows them to release a lot of built up emotions. So, you know, for one example, you may have a moment where your child comes home from school and maybe you set a limit of, you know, something, and all of a sudden they you know, just all of these emotions just come bubbling out, and you know, you're not even sure where this has come from, but this is positive. Like when children express emotions and they cry and it comes out, that is really good for children. Emotions need to come out. It's when we repress them that's when it's hard, and children go inward. We need them to express their emotions. And it also gives children the language of feelings. So if we identify our children's feelings and we're really attuned to them and we know how they're feeling and we tell them how they're feeling, then they will use this in their own vocabulary and they will start to notice how they're feeling themselves. So if you say, oh yeah, no, you're really frustrated because the tower's not going how you want it to go, it keeps falling down. I know that's really frustrating for you. Every single time that child comes over that problem where it's not really going how they want it to go, and they get that really hard feeling that's really difficult to deal with, they will know that, right, that's called frustration. And you know, then they'll be able to, as they grow up, they'll be able to communicate with other people and they will know how they're feeling. We can really start to coach our children on their emotions from such a young age. My 2-year-old, even at the moment, I'm always noticing emotions with him and telling him how he feels in different ways. So, you know, oh, you feel sad today, or that's made you feel sad, and I use real simple language. You know, happy and sad is what I'm using at the moment with my youngest boy, and he's able to notice now when my 2-year-old cries or is upset. He now comes to me and he says, "Mummy, how is sad?" And he's able to notice that. So it's just really noticing our children's feelings really, really can help them. Let's move on to the next slide. So I really am trying to teach an approach to everybody to move away from that controlling. When we set limits, we don't need to be scary. We don't need to be controlling. We don't need to be authoritative. We don't need to be, we just don't need to be firm and scary in our approach. We can still be strong, but we can also be loving and understanding and compassionate. So I just thought I'd just play this. So, you know, often maybe when we were children, we might have heard things like, "Stop that, you're not," "No, you're not," because I said so. There was never really a reason why. It was kind of just no, and that was it. And, you know, you might have heard things like, if you do, then you won't have this, and then things will be taken away from you. And just do what you're told, okay? Those kind of things. We need to try and move away from this kind of way of setting limits. And I'm going to teach you a way that you can set a limit with your child that will allow them to be still in control of their own choices, okay? So when we enforce, let me just move this so we can read it. When we enforce too many limits on our children, what happens is they search for power and control, and this will lead to power struggles. You know, the moment where you're just pulling against your child, everything you ask them to do, it's a no, they're just pulling. Children don't have a lot of control over their own lives, and often we can ask them to do so much, and there is a lot expected of them. It's really, you know, one thing that is important to think about is how many things do we ask our children to do every day? They go to school, they're asked to sit nicely, they're asked to eat properly at the dinner table. There's so much expectations for children. And if children are not given time to make their own choices and be themselves, they can just feel really powerless. And this causes a lot of difficult feelings. Okay, so the bonus module that I've included is on power play, and this is all about how to help with power struggles. Okay, so let's just move on to the next slide. So let's use ACT to set loving limits. Okay, and this is an approach that I use in therapy with children if I need to set a limit. This was created by Gary Landreth, who is a play therapist. He's done some wonderful work. And yeah, there's 3 steps to this approach. And the first step is acknowledging the child's feelings and helping them to feel understood. And then they're free to express their emotions. The second step is setting the limit. And this helps children to understand the difference between right and wrong, okay? And the third step is giving an alternative. So we're not just saying no, that's it, and it's just left. We're finding a way to still be able for them to do what they want to do, but in a safe way. So, you know, you give an alternative, and this helps children to still feel empowered and they're still in control of their own choices. So they're still able to do what they want to do, but in a different way. We're not just saying a firm no, okay? So yeah, I've just created this for you so it's a little bit easier for you to see. So the first step is acknowledge the feeling. The second step is communicate the limit. And the third step is target an alternative, okay? So how do we actually use this approach? So I've given you an example here. This is quite a big example, okay? But I think it will help. So stop what you're doing. The first thing you do is and notice how they are feeling, okay? And watch what they are doing. The first thing you need to say is something like, I know you're angry and you want to hit me, okay? This is obviously if your child's really dysregulated. You could even say something like, I know you're angry. I can see you're angry, okay? So you're labeling the emotion and the feeling. And then the second thing you need to do is you need to communicate the limit. I am not for hitting, okay? Or you could say something like the ball, you know, or the, we could say something like the skipping rope is not for throwing, okay? That's setting another limit. And then the third thing that you can do is you can target an alternative. So think of an alternative way for them to still do what they want to do, but you know, it's okay for them to do it. So for this one, I've said, like, I know you're angry and you want to hit me. I'm not for hitting, but if you want to, we can hit a pillow, or we can go and jump on the trampoline together and try and get them to release some of that built up energy. Power play, the bonus module, is another thing that we could use, and you could say something like, I know, let's play a power game. and really get that energy out and get that frustration out and get them emotions out, but together. So you're helping them do that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you, there'll be a download for you to, there'll be a download for you to download, and you'll be able to use this to find a way to use the ACT approach in your parenting. Okay, so what you're going to do is you'll be able to write down a limit that's maybe it's always coming up for you, something that really you find difficult, and you're always telling your children to do the same things, and then see if you can use the ACT approach and plan out how you're going to do that, and then have a go at doing it and see how you get on and see how your children respond. Okay, and I will see you in the next part. Bye.